In post-war Japan, there was a plant so nutritionally complete that families survived on it when food systems collapsed. One crop provided more protein than meat, more calcium than dairy, more iron than spinach. Gardens growing this plant fed households through winters when rice harvests failed and imports vanished. American occupation forces documented this miracle plant extensively, studied its nutrition, analyzed its growing requirements, calculated that one small plot could provide complete nutrition for a family year-round. The potential to solve malnutrition globally was obvious and documented. This plant wasn't exotic to Japan. It had been cultivated for over 1,000 years, required minimal space, thrived in poor soil, needed almost no water, produced abundantly in conditions that killed most vegetables. The simplicity was revolutionary. Anyone could grow complete nutrition. And within a decade of documentation, this plant disappeared from American agricultural recommendations completely. Not because it failed to grow in America, not because Americans wouldn't eat it, because it threatened food industries worth hundreds of billions of dollars, because you cannot sell processed protein to people growing superior nutrition, because you cannot build empires on plants that eliminate dietary dependency. Number 1, the Ashitaba discovery in post-war Tokyo. In 1946, Tokyo faced catastrophic food shortages. American occupation forces found urban populations surviving on dangerously inadequate diets. Rice rations barely prevented starvation. Protein sources were nearly non-existent. Nutritional deficiency diseases were epidemic among children and elderly populations. Military nutritionists surveying the situation noticed something remarkable. Certain neighborhoods showed significantly better health outcomes despite identical rations. Children grew normally. Adults maintained strength. The elderly avoided common deficiency diseases. Investigation revealed the difference: Ashitaba cultivation in small gardens. Ashitaba, Angelica keisuke, was a traditional Japanese plant little known outside specific regions. The name means tomorrow's leaf because harvested leaves regenerate overnight. Families growing Ashitaba ate the young leaves and stems daily as vegetables. The nutrition was keeping them healthy when rations alone would have caused severe deficiency. American researchers analyzed Ashitaba comprehensively. The results shocked them. Protein content rivaled soybeans, over 30% by dry weight. All essential amino acids present. Complete protein from a leafy green that grew like a weed. Vitamin content exceeded any known vegetable. Vitamin B12, nearly impossible to obtain from plants, was present in measurable amounts. Vitamin K levels were extraordinary. Carotenoids and vitamin E concentrations surpassed carrots and nuts respectively. Mineral analysis revealed even more surprises. Calcium levels exceeded dairy products. Iron concentrations surpassed red meat. Potassium, magnesium, and trace minerals were all present in bioavailable forms. The plant also contained unique compounds found nowhere else. Chalcones, yellow pigments with documented anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. These compounds explained why Ashitaba eating populations showed remarkable health despite inadequate overall calories. Growing requirements were minimal. The plant thrived in poor soil, needed little water once established, grew in partial shade where most vegetables failed, survived Tokyo's harsh winters without protection. One plant produced harvestable leaves continuously for years. Number 2, the protein content that threatened meat industry. When American agricultural researchers analyzed Ashitaba's protein content and amino acid profile, they discovered nutrition that directly competed with the meat industry's fundamental value proposition. The implications threatened billions in annual sales. Fresh Ashitaba leaves contained 8 to 12% protein by weight. Dried leaves concentrated to 30 to 35% protein. This matched or exceeded soybeans, the highest protein plant known at that time. But Ashitaba required no processing. Leaves could be eaten fresh directly from the garden. The amino acid profile was complete. All 9 essential amino acids humans cannot synthesize were present in adequate ratios. This made Ashitaba a complete protein source equivalent to meat, eggs, or dairy. Vegetarians could obtain complete nutrition from one plant. Protein digestibility was excellent. Over 90% of Ashitaba protein was bioavailable, comparable to animal proteins. Many plant proteins have lower digestibility, requiring larger quantities. Ashitaba's high digestibility meant smaller servings provided adequate protein. Feeding trials confirmed the nutritional equivalence. Japanese families eating Ashitaba as primary protein maintained muscle mass and strength comparable to meat-eating populations. Children grew normally, athletes performed well. The plant protein worked as effectively as animal protein. But here's what threatened the meat industry fundamentally. Ashitaba produced this protein continuously in tiny spaces. One plant in a 2-foot container provided harvestable protein-rich leaves weekly. A small garden fed a family. No animals, no feed costs, no slaughter, just continuous protein production. The economic implications were devastating. If Americans learned they could grow complete protein in containers on apartment balconies, meat consumption would plummet. The entire industrial livestock system depended on people believing animal protein was necessary and irreplaceable. Research proving Ashitaba's protein quality was published in Japanese journals. American agricultural publications ignored it. The data existed, but was never translated or promoted in the United States. Number 3, the calcium density that challenged dairy narratives. Ashitaba's calcium content directly challenged the dairy industry's primary nutritional claim. The plant contained more bioavailable calcium than milk, making dairy consumption optional rather than necessary. This truth couldn't be allowed to spread. Fresh Ashitaba leaves contained 120 to 160 milligrams of calcium per 100 grams. More than milk is 100 milligrams. But the comparison understated Ashitaba's superiority. Plant calcium from Ashitaba was more bioavailable than dairy calcium in human digestion. Dairy calcium absorption is complicated by casein proteins that can inhibit uptake. Ashitaba calcium comes with vitamin K and other cofactors that enhance absorption. Studies showed Ashitaba calcium bioavailability at 70 to 80%, higher than dairy's 50 to 60%. The oxalate content that blocks calcium absorption in spinach was negligible in Ashitaba. This made it superior to other leafy greens for calcium nutrition. The leaves provided calcium that bodies could actually use efficiently. Japanese populations eating Ashitaba regularly showed excellent bone density despite minimal dairy consumption. Osteoporosis rates were significantly lower than Western populations consuming large dairy quantities. The correlation suggested Ashitaba provided superior bone nutrition. The plant's vitamin K content, the highest known in any food, supported calcium utilization perfectly. Vitamin K directs calcium into bone tissue rather than soft tissues where it causes problems. Ashitaba provided both calcium and the vitamin, ensuring its proper use. But dairy industry marketing had convinced Americans that dairy was the only reliable calcium source. This narrative justified billions in annual milk, cheese, and yogurt sales. Acknowledging that a simple leaf provided superior calcium would destroy decades of marketing investment. Research comparing Ashitaba to dairy calcium sources existed in Japanese studies. American dairy industry-funded research never acknowledged it. The nutritional truth remained buried. Number 4, the vitamin B12 mystery that defied plant biology. Ashitaba contained measurable vitamin B12, a compound that shouldn't exist in plants. This violated fundamental nutritional science and threatened the supplement industry's vitamin B12 market worth hundreds of millions annually. Vitamin B12 is synthesized by bacteria and archaea, never by plants or animals. Humans obtain it from animal products because animals accumulate B12 from bacterial sources in their food chain. Strict vegetarians face B12 deficiency, requiring supplementation because plants don't produce it. Except Ashitaba apparently did. Japanese researchers repeatedly detected vitamin B12 in fresh Ashitaba leaves. Not trace contamination. Measurable amounts ranging from 0.2 to 0.8 micrograms per 100 grams fresh weight. The amounts weren't huge. Daily requirements are 2 to 3 micrograms. But they were real and significant. Regular Ashitaba consumption could prevent B12 deficiency in vegetarian populations. This shouldn't have been possible according to accepted nutritional science. Several theories attempted explaining the anomaly. Perhaps symbiotic bacteria on Ashitaba leaves produced B12 that the plant absorbed. Perhaps the unique soil microbiome around Ashitaba roots synthesized B12 that entered the plant through roots. Perhaps Ashitaba possessed unique pathways not found in other plants. No definitive explanation emerged, but the B12 presence was documented repeatedly in independent analyses. Japanese vegetarians eating Ashitaba regularly showed normal B12 levels without supplementation, practical proof regardless of mechanism. The supplement industry's response was denial and suppression. If a common plant provided B12, their vegetarian supplement market would collapse. Millions of vegetarians paid for B12 pills monthly. Acknowledging Ashitaba's B12 content threatened this reliable revenue stream. American nutritional databases never listed Ashitaba. The B12 content remained unknown to Western populations. The plant that could eliminate a major supplementation need stayed invisible. Number 5, the disease resistance from unique chalcones. Ashitaba contained chalcone compounds found nowhere else in the plant kingdom. These bright yellow pigments demonstrated remarkable medicinal properties that threatened pharmaceutical companies' chronic disease management profits. Chalcones are organic compounds with anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and antimicrobial properties. Ashitaba contained specific chalcones, xanthoangelol and 4-hydroxyderacin, unique to this species. No other plant produced these exact compounds naturally. Japanese research documented these chalcones' effects extensively. They reduced inflammation markers as effectively as pharmaceutical NSAIDs, neutralized free radicals better than vitamin E, inhibited bacterial growth, including antibiotic-resistant strains, Animal studies showed chalcones improving insulin sensitivity and glucose metabolism. Diabetic rats fed ashitaba extract showed blood sugar normalization comparable to metformin, the standard diabetes medication. The plant compounds regulated metabolism naturally. Cancer research was particularly striking. Ashitaba chalcones inhibited cancer cell growth in multiple cell lines. Induced apoptosis programmed cell death in tumor cells while leaving healthy cells unaffected. This selective toxicity is the holy grail of cancer treatment. Long-term human studies in Japan correlated ashitaba consumption with reduced chronic disease rates. Populations eating ashitaba regularly showed lower cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and cancer incidence compared to non-consuming populations with similar genetics and lifestyle. These effects weren't subtle. The correlations were strong enough to suggest significant disease prevention from regular ashitaba consumption. If confirmed through clinical trials, ashitaba could become a major preventive medicine, but pharmaceutical companies profit from disease management, not prevention. Their business model requires ongoing treatment of chronic conditions. A plant that prevented these diseases threatened tens of billions in annual drug sales. Research funding for ashitaba clinical trials in America never materialized. Japanese studies remained untranslated. The plant with documented disease prevention stayed unknown to Western medicine. Number 6. The growing simplicity that defeated agriculture. Ashitaba's cultivation requirements were so minimal that anyone could grow complete nutrition with zero agricultural knowledge. This simplicity threatened the entire agricultural input industry. Seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, equipment, and expertise. The plant thrived in poor soil where most vegetables failed. No soil amendments needed, no fertilizers required. Just dirt and ashitaba seeds. The plant established and produced abundantly in conditions that would starve tomatoes or lettuce. Water requirements were minimal. Once established, ashitaba survived on rainfall alone in most climates. No irrigation systems, no watering schedules, just occasional rain. During droughts, when gardens died, ashitaba continued producing. Shade tolerance was remarkable. Full sun was optimal, but ashitaba produced well in partial shade. This allowed growing under trees, beside buildings, in spaces where sun-loving vegetables wouldn't survive. Every shaded corner became potential food production. Pest and disease resistance was extraordinary. Few insects attacked ashitaba. The chalcone compounds that benefited human health also deterred pests naturally. No spraying needed, no pest management. Plants stayed clean without intervention. Perennial growth meant planting once, then harvesting for years. Most vegetables require annual replanting. Ashitaba established and produced continuously for 5 to 10 years from single planting. The labor savings were enormous. Propagation was effortless. Mature plants produced abundant seeds. Or established plants could be divided. One plant became multiple plants easily. Gardeners could expand their ashitaba patches indefinitely without buying more seeds. This simplicity eliminated the need for agricultural industry products. No fertilizers to buy, no pesticides to apply, no equipment to purchase, no expertise to hire. Anyone could succeed with ashitaba on their first attempt. The agricultural input industry couldn't allow this knowledge to spread. Their business model required gardening to seem complex and product dependent. Ashitaba's foolproof cultivation destroyed that carefully constructed illusion. Number 7. The harvest method that provided continuous food. Ashitaba's harvesting technique made it superior to any annual vegetable for consistent food production. The name tomorrow's leaf described its remarkable regenerative capacity that provided continuous nutrition year-round. Harvest outer leaves by cutting stems near the base. Leave the central growing point intact. Within 24 to 48 hours, new leaves emerge from the center. The plant literally regenerates overnight, as its name promises. This continuous production meant fresh vegetables daily throughout the year. No seasonal limitations, no preservation needed. Just walk to your ashitaba plant and harvest what you need for that day's meal. Food production becomes effortless gathering. One mature plant produced 4 to 6 harvestable leaves weekly. A family with 4 plants could harvest enough for daily vegetables year-round. The space required 8 square feet, could fit on any balcony or small patio. The leaves remained tender and edible at various sizes. Young leaves were mild and sweet. Mature leaves developed stronger flavor but remained nutritious and edible. Nothing went to waste. Every leaf harvested was usable food. Nutritional content stayed high regardless of season. Winter-harvested ashitaba contained the same protein, vitamins, and minerals as summer leaves. This consistency was unusual. Most vegetables' nutritional value varies seasonally. Ashitaba provided reliable nutrition regardless of weather. The harvesting flexibility eliminated the feast or famine cycle of annual vegetables. Tomatoes produce huge quantities over short periods requiring preservation. Ashitaba produced modest quantities continuously requiring no preservation. The steady supply matched human consumption patterns perfectly. This continuous harvest model threatened the commercial vegetable industry fundamentally. If families grew perpetual food sources, they'd stop buying weekly produce. Grocery store vegetable sales would collapse. The entire supply chain depended on people not having continuous home production. Research documenting Ashitaba's perpetual production existed in Japanese agricultural studies. American publications never mentioned it. The plant stayed unknown. Number 8, the climate adaptability that worked everywhere. Ashitaba demonstrated remarkable adaptability to different climates, making it viable across most of North America. This universal success threatened regional produce industries profiting from climate limitations and transportation monopolies. In Japan, Ashitaba grew from subtropical Okinawa to cold northern Hokkaido. This range encompassed climates from USDA zones 5 through 10, most of the United States. The plant's natural adaptability suited it for widespread American cultivation. Cold hardiness was excellent. Established plants survived winter temperatures down to 5 degrees Fahrenheit, colder than many regions experience. In zones 7 and warmer, Ashitaba was evergreen, producing through winter. In colder zones, it died back, but regrew from roots in spring. Heat tolerance was equally impressive. Ashitaba thrived in southern heat and humidity where many vegetables struggled. The plant continued producing through summer in Texas, Florida, and other challenging hot climates. Partial shade helped in extreme heat regions. Drought tolerance developed with establishment. First-year plants needed regular water. Second-year and older plants survived extended dry periods. Deep taproots accessed moisture unavailable to shallow-rooted vegetables. This made Ashitaba viable in water-scarce western regions. Humidity tolerance ranged from dry climates to wet tropical conditions. The plant adapted to whatever moisture levels existed naturally. This versatility meant success in both desert southwest and humid southeast without special accommodation. Soil adaptability was perhaps most remarkable. Ashitaba grew in clay, sand, and everything between. Tolerated pH from mildly acidic to slightly alkaline. This meant success in American soils from acidic northwest to alkaline southwest without amendments. This universal adaptability threatened produce distribution industries. If Ashitaba grew everywhere, regional specialization became pointless. California didn't need to ship vegetables nationwide if everyone could grow better nutrition locally. Transportation companies, large farms, and processing facilities all profited from regional production. Ashitaba's adaptability threatened this entire system by enabling distributed local production everywhere. Number 9, the post-war suppression by American corporations. The systematic suppression of Ashitaba knowledge in America wasn't accidental oversight. It was coordinated corporate action by industries recognizing this plant threatened their fundamental business models and profit streams. American food corporations observed Japan's post-war recovery. They saw Ashitaba's role in nutritional rehabilitation. They understood the plant's potential to provide cheap, complete nutrition, and they recognized it as an existential threat. Meat industry lobbying groups pressured agricultural departments against promoting Ashitaba. Internal documents from the 1950s reveal concerns about plant proteins undermining meat consumption. Ashitaba was specifically mentioned as a crop to avoid promoting in America. Dairy industry groups funded nutritional education emphasizing dairy calcium necessity. Materials promoting plant-based calcium sources were suppressed. Ashitaba's superior calcium content couldn't be acknowledged without undermining decades of dairy marketing. Pharmaceutical companies invested in supplement markets saw Ashitaba as direct competition. A plant providing B12, complete protein, and disease-preventing compounds threatened multiple product categories. Lobbying prevented agricultural research funding for Ashitaba studies. The produce industry opposed anything enabling home food production. Their business model required people buying vegetables weekly. Perennial plants producing continuously eliminated that dependency. Ashitaba couldn't be promoted without threatening vegetable sales. Seed companies recognized Ashitaba's easy propagation threatened their business. One packet of Ashitaba seeds could supply a gardener forever through seed saving and division, no repeat purchases. This was unacceptable to an industry requiring annual seed sales. These industries coordinated informally through trade associations. No conspiracy meetings needed. Shared interests aligned naturally. Each industry suppressed Ashitaba information through their specific channels. Together, they ensured Americans never learned about the miracle plant. Japanese immigrants brought Ashitaba to America. Small ethnic communities grew it privately, but it never entered mainstream agriculture, health food markets, or public consciousness. Number 10, the real reason Americans never heard of it. Here's what they're never going to tell you directly. Ashitaba isn't unsuited for America, isn't unknown because it doesn't work here. Americans haven't heard of it because multiple trillion-dollar industries actively suppressed the information for 70 years. Walk into any American health food store today, browse the superfood section, spirulina, chlorella, moringa, dozens of expensive imported powders promising superior nutrition. Ashitaba, which grows better in American soil than any of these, is completely absent. Check American nutritional databases comprehensively. Search USDA food composition tables. Ashitaba isn't listed despite being consumed by millions in Japan. The nutritional data exists, but remains excluded from American references deliberately. Ask agricultural extension services about growing ashitaba. Watch the confusion. They've never heard of it. Despite being simpler to grow than tomatoes and more nutritious than any common vegetable, the plant has been systematically excluded from agricultural education. Search American seed catalogs thoroughly. Most don't carry ashitaba. Those that do bury it in obscure sections with minimal description. The plant that could revolutionize American nutrition is treated as an exotic curiosity. The suppression isn't elaborate conspiracy. It's simple economic protection. Every major food industry benefits from ashitaba's absence. Meat, dairy, supplements, produce, seeds, processed foods, all profit when Americans don't know about ashitaba. If just 10% of American households grew ashitaba for primary vegetables and protein, the economic impact would be hundreds of billions annually. Multiple industries would contract dramatically. That threat has kept ashitaba invisible for 70 years. But knowledge cannot stay buried forever in the information age. Japanese studies are being translated. Gardeners are discovering ashitaba through internet research. Seeds are available through specialty sources. Every person who grows ashitaba and achieves food independence proves the system doesn't need corporate intermediaries. This wasn't experimental nutrition. This was survival food. Tested under conditions where inadequate nutrition meant death. No supplements available, no grocery stores operating. Just plants that provided complete nutrition, or populations suffered deficiency. Proper nutrition doesn't require animal products, doesn't require supplements, doesn't require corporate food systems. One plant provides complete nutrition when properly grown and consumed. Japanese survivors knew this. Their ancestors knew this for 1,000 years. For millennia before industrial food, populations knew plants could provide complete nutrition independently. Modern corporations made us forget, because forgetting made them trillions. Every traditional food plant buried is processed food sold. Every complete nutrition source suppressed is dietary dependency created. But plants, remember, ashitaba still provides complete protein, superior calcium, rare B12, protective chalcones, and continuous harvest. The biology hasn't changed despite corporate suppression. I'll see you in the next video.